Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Made Of with your boy, Mike C-Roc. Guys, I'm so thankful for you guys. Thank you for the audience. Thank you for the following. Thank you for the engagement. I just want to express that to start the show. And today we have my friend, Samit Patel. He's a crowdfunding and product launch expert that has raised over $43 million. He is recommended by incubators, accelerators around the world. He is the go-to expert for business, small and big, that want to bring their product to market. Samit, welcome to the show, man.
Hey man, good to be here, C-Roc, my man.
So before I get into asking you the start off question, we met in Clubhouse, which is an awesome new app that is providing opportunity for people to meet that normally would not have had the opportunity to connect. And I'm thankful. First of all, I want to share that with you. Gratitude for the opportunity to interview you and to meet you and develop a relationship with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me on. I think we connected the first couple of times we were on Clubhouse, and this is where it's led to. And that's what Clubhouse is all about, creating connections and seeing where you can provide value and what stories you can exchange. So, when you told me about the concept of this podcast, I was like, yeah, I definitely need to be on C-Roc's podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. I appreciate you being here. So let's start the show, man. What are you made of?
I am made of a combination of luck and hard work.
Luck and hard work. Okay, so you believe in luck?
Yeah, I think my story, which I'll get into at some point during this podcast, you'll be able to see what it is. Well, it's, some people call it divine intervention, some people call it whatever, right? Just a coincidence. So it'll be interesting, and I think it will make sense to those of your listeners that stay to the end. They'll understand why I picked those two things.
All right, let's roll. So then what's your story, man? How did you get started? You can take us back as far back as you want to, when you were in diapers or later on in your life. But yeah, let me hear your story, man. What's going on with it?
Yeah, man. So, well, my first entrepreneurial journey really started in university, but for you to get a context of who I am and what I do, I'm a Indian child born in the UK, to a low income family with my dad, who lost his job very early on. So it was really just surviving through my mum. I was in a country where, I went to schools where I was the only Indian child in the schools. So you can potentially imagine what would happen to someone like me. And I was also very outspoken. I'd speak a lot. I wouldn't know when to shut up, which was a thing. And people didn't necessarily like that. So, I think looking back on what drives me and what has led me to where I am now in my life, it has to do with a lot about my school. And there was a period when I went to secondary school where, I was getting beaten up every single day for about 5 years. And a lot of the times this made me contemplate whether I wanted to stay alive. And the thing that kept me around was the love of my mum. So, she was a very integral part of myself and where I am now. But literally, I was like this Asian kid, very scrawny kid. I was also youngest in my year because my birthday's in August. The first day of secondary school, when I was just 11 years old, or if not younger, there was a huge puddle in the middle of the playground, and I was just playing around it. And then some kid shoved me into this huge pond, and it was so big, and then what happened, all the kids surrounded this pond, and every single time I'd try and get out, they'd keep pushing me back into it. So that was like my first day at secondary school. And you can imagine what happened ever since. I had that tagline as the guy that fell in the pond. And every single time, people would just start beating on me. And it's not just like a one-to-one. Like, I tried to fight back a lot of the times. Like, when you're in that situation, you're naturally going to fight back. There was one kid I had 13 fights with. And it was just like, after 13 fights, I was like, I can't do this no more. I'm tired of this. Like, because what would happen is you'd have a fight with that kid, and if you won or lost, they would go, oh, this kid beat you up, and they'd make it a thing, and they'd cause another fight. And every single time, I was never the guy that would start the fight. I would, and it's not even a fair fight, because once you start fighting with this other person, like, the whole school would just beat down on you. So you're not facing one person, you're facing thousands of kids that are just looking to get a kick in, get a punch in. And that was my life for about 5 years.
Damn, I can resonate with that, man. Like, just real quick, you know, I grew up in elementary school with Latino kids, and then I went and moved schools after I left my dad's, moved back to my mom's, and it was mostly white kids and a few African American kids. I thought I was supposed to hang out with African American kids, so I did that, and I got my ass whooped by all of them, and I didn't know why. And they would always laugh when they were doing it. It was never they were like angry, but I was scared to death, man. So I've been there, and how that resonates and sticks with you still to this day is to me, like, that's the fuel, man. But go ahead and continue. I wanted to let you know, man, I resonate with that. That resonates with me.
I think we had a conversation yesterday on Clubhouse as well, and you know, a lot of people, they were coming at it from that they got bullied or they came from a pain point, and this is what led them to that entrepreneurial journey. So I think it's something that's a common trait amongst a lot of people. So you know, that was literally what I was having for about 5 years. It was an all boys school. That was one of my biggest motivators. You know, a lot of the times I did think to myself, look, I'm just going to end it right here. But what kept me going was my mum. I was like, it would literally break her heart. So I kept going went through it, went to college. College was a much better time because there was girls, it was a mixed school, and you know, that they're not necessarily thinking about beating people up. And I sort of fitted in to a group where I connected with people much better because there was Asians, it was a very nice mix. So, you know, I connected with a lot of people. College went fine, and then went to university, and university is where my first sort of entrepreneurial bug got me. I started throwing nightclub events. So I used to host parties where I started off working with maybe one really rubbish club that no one should have gone to because it was that rubbish, right? But I ended up bringing a whole host of people. I ended up becoming like the biggest nightclub promoter in London, making thousands of bucks every single week. And this was going from, you know, having zero coming in to earning thousands. You're like a kid that's broke into a candy shop and has everything accessible to you. So literally every single time I would make this money, I was living like a rock star lifestyle. I'd be buying everyone drinks. I'd be getting cabs back and forward. You know, if it was just like a couple of down the road, my takeaway bills would be probably $1,000. Like, and I would probably not even eat half that food. It was crazy. Like, it wasn't sustainable. You know, if I did have something that I would learn from that period, would have been invest that money into something, you know, that's going to keep money going. So I did that for about 3-4 years during university. It helped pay for a lot of my living expenses and my luxuries of going out, which would have been otherwise very hard to do. So I was forced into that situation because of coming from a low-income family and not really having the money to go through university education. I never really wanted to go through university education. I did it because it was a way to go away from my home, because my dad is he's got OCD, which is, you know, he gets very tight about small things. So, you know, if you touch the floor, he'd be like, wash your hands. And he holds everything with plastic bags and like a whole bunch of criminals. So that was a whole situation that I had to deal with. And it was great to just go, you know what, I'm going to go out and live out for 3 years. And that's exactly what I did.
Did any of that pass down to you? The OCD stuff?
No, I'm complete opposite. So I'm like, if he's like, touch this, I do a complete opposite. And that's one thing that hasn't stuck to me.
Yeah. I was just curious about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I think that's a whole topic in itself. But I think for the point of this, let's just keep going with this. But yeah, I graduated in 2019. 2009. I graduated.
Damn, son. I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was like, that's last year. But I graduated in 2009, and obviously 2009 was like a big crash of the economy. There was no real jobs going, and for me, I never really wanted to get into jobs. You know, I thought I made $1,000 in a week. Why would I want to go back to a $5 an hour job? Like, just doesn't make sense to me when I was making that very quickly. So for me, like, it was literally like, you know what, I got to keep, like, I can anything I'll touch will turn into gold. Like, that's what I was thinking to myself. So I literally tried my hand at a bunch of businesses. I went into the travel market. One of my friends had a travel business, And he was like, yeah, come into this business, you know, we can sort of grow it together. I was working there for about 2-3 years thinking, you know, I'm going to make some money. I made some money, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't life changing. The reason for that was because it was a family business, and the family business was very stuck in its old ways. I was telling them from 2009 that the booking engine was going to be the next big thing. Everyone is going to be booking online. They're not going to be calling. And they were a very old fashioned business that relied on calling, right? So I was like, no, you need to think like this is going to change, but they just wouldn't listen. So I ended up leaving that. I ended up going into another business, which was run by another friend that I connected during the nightclub time. And he was that type of guy that had a nice car, he had a nice flat, he had a nice girlfriend, everything that you would be like, oh wow, you know, this guy must have something sorted. He must have the silver bullet that I'm looking for.
Right,
And
right.
I think that, and that I fell for that. I was like, all right, cool. You know, this guy must know something that I don't. And so I went to work with him. He was like, yeah, you know, we'll get to sign up. We'll create a business for you. We'll make sure you're making a bunch of money. But what ended up happening was like, I just ended up becoming a glorified sort of employee for him, which was on a minuscule percentage ownership in the company. So I ended up managing a hair salon. Don't ask me, I don't even have hair. You know, it was like a hair extension. So women get this hair extension thing to make their hair long. So they were like, yeah, this is the business we got for you. Look, go in and do it. And I'm like, I know nothing about hair, but I spent about 6 months to a year dealing with that, as well as a training academy and various other crappy businesses. And it really just got to a point where I was like, look, I'm not doing anything. Like, what the hell am I? I'm not here to be an employee. And they're like, all right, cool. We'll help you. We've got this amazing new idea. And I was like, all right, cool. What is it? And they were like, it's SEO. And I was like, SEO has been around for the last 10 years. Like, there's nothing different in that. They were like, no, don't worry. Trust me. You know, you're going to make a lot of money. They put together Excel that showed, you know, it's going to be a multi-million-dollar venture. And again, being the naive young kid I was thinking, okay, cool. Maybe they know something. Fast forward a year later, you know, again, I was door knocking every single day. I was the guy that was working my ass off. I was knocking down restaurants. I was calling restaurants. I built up a team of about 10 to 15 people. The company that shouldn't have done well did well, right? But the thing that was continuously going wrong was the other business partner that was the guy that we thought was the silver bullet. He wasn't delivering on these clients. So he every single time would be like, all right, so what's happening with this client? Are you doing the work? He'll be like, no, I haven't got around to it. So we would end up losing these clients. So every single time we were getting this, it kept happening. And I was like, look, I'm not in the business to just collect money and not deliver on our promises. I said, look, I'm gonna take some time off and I'm gonna create my own business. So I ended up creating a social media agency on the back end of this. So the premises was that people would get 3 posts on social media, and this was before social media blew up. So they'd get a post on Facebook, they'd get a post on Google Plus, they'd get a post on Twitter, and would charge $99 for that. And that's the business we set up. That started to blow up, right? But what happened was, like, again, the business partners were not doing anything in that company. So I was again doing all the work. I created the idea. They weren't even investing any money because it's a service-based business. Like, what money do you have to invest in? So I was like to them, look, you know, at the moment, you guys are doing nothing in this. Like, why are we splitting this cut 3 ways? It just doesn't make sense. Like, what am I getting out of this? And it really got to a loggerhead where they were just like, no, this is what it is. And I went, all right, then fair enough. I'm going to go create this on my own. And that's exactly what I did. So I went and created a new business from scratch, the same premises. And the next thing I know, I start getting lawyer letters, solicitor letters saying, you know, that they want to sue me. They send the police to my house, and the police were going to search my house because they claimed I'd stolen a laptop, which I didn't do. So I don't know what they were trying to do, but they were obviously trying to paint me in a bad light. So you can imagine by this point, I was 28 years old. So I'd spent about nearly six years or 5 years plus just faffing around with trying my hand at different businesses, failing miserably, having zero to my pocket, and all of my friends in nice corporate jobs meeting up every Friday. And throughout this time period, I'd just be like, I'm working really hard. I'm going to be making a success. So at 28, I was at my lowest point where I felt useless. I had no money, and I was out of ideas. I was literally like, all I've ever thought about is running my own business, and where I'm going now is nowhere. So like that was obviously, you know, I was really stressed out at that point. I was losing crazy weight. My hair was really gone.
How did that relate to the feelings that you had when you were a kid and getting bullied and wanting to end it?
Yeah, it's very similar, because you know, you were getting physically bullied, but this was like mental bullying, right? Like almost because people were trying to sue you, or they're spreading fake news about you. And I've got a very big mental barrier. I think that's the only thing that's kept me going. You know, like if something like hits me, then it can keep on hitting me, and I'll still come out of the other end, and I'll be like, whatever. Everyone now, they say, Samit, you're such a calm guy. Like even like someone will go, hey, someone's been shot or whatever, and I'll just be like, all right, cool. So what were you doing? Like, and that's my reaction to most things, you know, because I just like nothing's new now. Like, you know, I've had most of the shittiest things that can happen, so it doesn't really affect me as much. But 2015, you know, so from 2009 to 2015 is literally when all of this was happening. And in 2015, literally there was a point, and this is where, you know, this is where like I'd say a part luck has to come into play. My brother, who is like the 6-foot giant, the muscly guy, the better looking version of me, he's the optician. So, you know, if you're any Indian parent, they always want their child to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. And that was my brother. So my brother just graduated in 2015, and he went on holiday with his friends. A couple of weeks before he was going, I just kept having really morbid thoughts about him, like something really bad was going to happen to him. And I've never had that, you know, because he's such a big guy, he's muscly, you'd never think anything's going to happen to this guy. But I just couldn't shake that feeling, and that kept happening for 2 weeks. So what I started doing was I kept praying for him. You know, randomly I'd be praying for him, and I'd be thinking, why is this happening? Why can't I sleep? Why are these thoughts happening? And it's really just stupid. And it really got to a point where, you know, I was like the day before he was going to go on holiday, me and him went out for a meal, and I was just talking to him. I was like, all right, cool. You know, are you ready for your holiday? What have you got? Have you got travel insurance? And he's like, no. You know, why do I need travel insurance? I was like, no, make sure you get travel insurance. And the next day he went on his holiday, and he texted me that he got there. So whenever you think like something wrong's going to happen, you usually think it's the flight, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. He's got there, he's landed safely. And I was like, all right, cool. Nothing's going to happen. But that feeling was still there. So I was at work at this point, and I got a call from an unknown number. I pick up the call, and it's like one of Druven's friends, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're right, it's Druven's friends." I was like, "Yeah, you having a good time? How are you guys?" And he's like, "Yeah, you know, I don't know how to tell you, but your brother has drowned." And I was like, "What? Like how did he drown? Right? When someone tells you they've drowned, you think that's it, but they're like I go, is he dead? Is he alive? What's happened? And they're like, they don't know. They've taken them to the hospital. So at this point, I froze. Not because I was in disbelief. I was more like, wait a minute. I was thinking about this for 2 weeks, and then something happens to him. That's so weird, right? So the next thing I had to do was speak to my parents, and I had to obviously tell them what had happened, but I also needed money from them because I had zero in my bank balance. So to be a 28-year-old with zero in his bank balance, and then having to beg your parents for a flight to go and try and see if your brother's okay, is the biggest embarrassment ever, right? And that's exactly what happened. They obviously gave me the money, and I went to see him. And on the flight, you know, I was just thinking all sorts, like, what if I have to turn off the machine, and all these crazy things that you never really want to think about. I ended up getting to see my brother, and he was obviously connected up to all these machines. The doctors said they had to put him into a coma because he had 95% water in both his lungs. So they were like, you know, it's crazy that he is still here, and they didn't have any prognosis of whether he'd be all right or not. But as soon as I saw him, I was like, okay, he's going to be fine. Like that's exactly what happened. Like I thought to myself, he's going to be fine. Like this, and it was weird. Like I don't know why. Like we still to this day don't really know why that event happened. It was really touch and go, but the stories you hear about how there was an ambulance that was right at that beach when he ended up drowning, and they were trying to look for someone else, but my brother ended up getting taken care of. And there was also a jet ski guy that was randomly jet skiing about, and that he's the only guy in this whole lake that owns a jet ski, but he decided to go out, and if he hadn't, then my brother wouldn't. So it was like all these split-second decisions. And also the insurance thing was big, because if my brother didn't have insurance, the doctors wouldn't have dealt with him the way they did. And also it would have been a huge bill. Like that he was in there for about 4 weeks. That would have cost 150, 200K. Like it's crazy, the bills.
Wow.
So all of that, and after analyzing everything that went on, like we couldn't really understand, because my brother didn't need an intervention in his life. He was already doing well. He was on the right path. But if anything, that scenario made me change my whole life, because I was like, at that moment, I was like, I can't continue the way I am. I can't continue with having zero to my name. And I said, you know what? At that point, I said, I'm going to give up entrepreneurship. I'm going to go get a 9-to-5 job, be a normal person. I gave up on that social media business I started and I was creating. I reached out to the people that were suing me, and I said, look, I'm not going to start this business no more. I ended up seeing them. I had to, it was almost like going to your bully and telling your bully, look, you've won. And then they got me to sign some papers. So really crazy stuff there.
So Samit, your brother survived though, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. He survived. Yeah. So he survived that, thankfully. And then, it was a case of me. I said to myself, I'm just going to go apply for a job. So I gave up on my entrepreneurial dream then. And I applied for one position as a consultant, because I was really interested in startups at that point. And like I begged them to let me work with them, because they were like, why, this guy's 28 years old and we've got a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-old dudes. Like, we can't afford to pay this guy whatever he wants. So I said, look, I'll work for free. I need something. Just give this to me. I need a way out. Yeah. And I sent off my CV to that one company. I chased up that one company. I ended up getting a job there. And then my job there was literally putting together a launch plan for their new product. That product was like a new smartwatch, right? Yeah. So I ended up putting together that whole marketing plan. I helped them go to market. They ended up raising 1.6 million. So that was literally the first sort of campaign I did. And fair enough, you do one campaign and people think, okay, it's a fluke. But then I followed that up with another campaign that did equally as well. And that's what I've been doing since 2015. And it's so funny, because I didn't want to be an entrepreneur at that point, but it got forced upon me, because soon as I did them two fantastic campaigns, I had about 10 people I had probably about 20, 30 people that blew up my inbox saying, hey, we want you to work on our project. So I went to all of the people. I said, look, if each one of you pay 2,000, then I'll work with you. And I had about 10 companies that were looking to pay me 2,000 a month. And that's how I ended up setting up my agency. And that's how I ended up creating a business. And fast forward now, where I am right now, I've ended up launching a lot of successful businesses. So it's a weird, it's a weird thing that ended up happening, but like it's led to where I am right now.
So product launch, is that more, would you say more marketing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's majority marketing.
Yeah, so we're getting any like physical product and they want to jump onto the market, or they want to launch to the market, and we help them with that whole marketing campaign. Some of them want to launch on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, and that's again what we help them do as well.
Gotcha. And you started out with $2,000 a month fee to do that. And now since these are newer companies and they're looking for sourcing and they don't have a lot of cash flow yet, do you keep that price point low because of that? Because of the type of people that you're working with or the type of companies you're working with, or has that raised up?
It's raised up now. Yeah. 2015 was a complete different game, right? Like where I am now is probably I'm one of the top companies in the space. And I'm more selective about who we work with. We don't just work with everyone. We work with about 7 projects every quarter, because I've got a lot of other business interests as well. I speak a lot around the world. So, but I still have a passion for looking at a product and launching to the market. My ideal client or someone that I'd love to work with is Samsung or Google. I'd love to launch one of their new products. We have worked with like Xiaomi, which is a comparative brand, but I'd love to launch a Google product to the market, and that's the dream that we're working towards.
So that's a vision that you put out, your vivid vision that you put out now, and you're going after it.
That's a vision I'm putting out there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen because we've connected to a lot of amazing people. But
hold up. Pretty sure my ass. You got to be sure. Like there's no reason if you're going to do it, you might as well just be like, take the pretty out of it.
Yeah, you know I mean? I'm 100% sure.
Let's go.
If you're Google or Samsung, you need to reach out to me because the product needs me.
Damn right. That's how you got to roll. Every morning we wake up, we think that way. That's how I do it, man. And there's some crazy shit that's happened to me over the last year and a half that I manifested by thinking that way. And I used to hear that stuff back in the day and I believed in positive self-talk and all that, but it is the reason it doesn't work for most people is because they don't believe it. Right. So all you got to do is make this switch and believe before you see. And all of a sudden, man, people start coming into your life. Like you pull people in. It's really like, I hate to say that because it's so cliche, the law of attraction, but really I like to talk about pulling people in. So when I talk about luck, like to me, it's all the stuff that I've decided and believed in and the actions I've taken afterwards have led me to where I am today, to be on this call with you, for example. But so where's the luck part come in?
Well, I think that is luck, right? Like, I don't know whether it's luck or fate or whatever you want to call it, but there's got to be something. Like I've not been able to work it out or put a definitive answer on it, but it definitely seems like some divine intervention somewhere. It's too much of a coincidence that something like that happened. Like what would force me to have 2 weeks of negative thoughts around my brother or something that was going to happen to him without, and keep on happening, and then it actually it's very strange. And my brother's life didn't change. The only person's life that changed was mine.
But look what you did though leading up to it, and a lot of people don't believe in this too, but you said you prayed. So to me, like I look at this and there's a lot of things that happen there. One, your brother probably's purpose on this planet wasn't finished. No matter what happened, the decision that he made to go swimming or whatever it was, he made that decision. But it's like you said, the divine intervention or whatever you want to, whatever people believe in. It was like, nope, let's pick him up here. Let's put him in the ambulance and get him over there. And he's going to survive because he's got a bigger purpose. His work ain't done yet. And so, but then you were calling out, praying and putting energy out. See, this stuff's real to me. Like it doesn't, like there's no luck involved to me. You guys made decisions and things were happening that led to that. So I like to argue with you on that one because I like to agree with people as much as I can, but dude, there was decisions that were made and energy that was put out that changed that.
What would you call that then? If not luck, would you call that divine intervention, or what would you call that?
So I believe in God, and I believe we're all put here for a purpose. And once our spirit, when like this is just my beliefs, and I don't apologize for it. Once our spirit and our body, our material, like the energy and material of our bodies and everything aligns together, we go towards our purpose and we do great things. And that's why we have success. But when we're not doing that and there's all kinds of problems and conflict, that's when we have problems. So for him there, he's got a purpose to serve on this planet. He's obviously, is he still a doctor?
He actually runs his own business, so
he's doing,
it's relevant. It's relevant to what he's doing. Yeah. So he's doing amazing things on his own. He's going to be on the Shark Tank version of the UK. So he's doing a lot of amazing things as well. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, he wasn't done yet. So yeah, whatever you want to call it. See, luck is to me is when you roll the dice one time and you roll a 7 and you needed a 7 and you rolled it one time. But even then though, actually you rolled the dice. So I don't even know if that's luck. I don't believe in luck. I don't, in the truest definition of it. But so what's next for you? Obviously, you want to look for, work with bigger companies. Google is one of them. But what are you doing right now, currently on a daily basis to go towards that?
Well, I'm on Clubhouse, obviously. I did have a speaking tour planned before COVID, so I was going to be out on stage inspiring people, and that is my goal for this year. It's to inspire 1 million people to better themselves, to use the power of business, help them through their journeys. Because the most powerful thing that happened to me was when I was up on stage a couple of years ago. I was sharing a story about business and life, and people would come up to me afterwards and go, Samit, you've literally changed my life. That one thing you said or one moment you did. And to me, that was so much more powerful than all the different money I've made so far. Like, I felt fulfilled in that moment. Like, I felt like I achieved a purpose. And for me, I want to continue to do that. I want to continue to inspire people. So my biggest goal is to use, obviously, the power of business to help people, but my bigger goal is to inspire, motivate, and get people running that business, because I think the power of helping someone teach them how to fish rather than give them a fish is so important. And I think a lot of people have the opportunity to really change their lives if they can apply and use business to their advantage.
Love it, man. So I'm going to ask you one more question before I get into the rocket fuel question, and then we'll wrap this up. So when somebody's got an MVP of a product and they're ready to go, what are the 2 or 3 most important things they should be focusing on if they have a product that they're getting ready to launch?
Yeah, so the first thing that we do is we actually validate an idea. So like I'm the biggest advocate of actually going, look, how can you create a product without actually spending so much on it? So if someone was to create a product, they would end up spending 20,000-30,000 to just formulate something. But how can you do it in a way where you're not spending that? So I'll give you an example of what we did just literally last quarter. I had an idea for creating a UV sanitizing case. So, you would put your mask inside this, you would close the lid, and it would sanitize your mask. So that was the idea I had. So I could have been the guy that would have gone and spent 20,000-30,000 with a product development company. Instead, what I did was I found an existing headphone case that was selling on Amazon. I bought that in. I then got some LED lights and just stuck it inside, and then started taking Instagrammable pictures and testing. And then I tested whether that idea would generate us money or not. So I set up a landing page. I started driving traffic to it, and I'd see what the reaction was like. Is the reaction in line with what we expect with the data points of the big campaigns that we run? Or is it something that people are signing up for, but it's like low level, right? And people were signing up for it, but it's not an idea that's going to make me millions, because that's the scale I'm looking at. So if anyone there wants to take this idea, 50,000 or 100,000, go for it. But it's not one that's going to generate you millions. So this is, and that's an easy way of validating stuff. And that's a big thing that I teach a lot of people about. I'm like, go and validate something. Don't just go create it. Don't get sucked into it. Create an MVP if you must, but try and do it in the least amount spent. Again, I was telling someone that wanted to create a new hair gel. I was like, why are you messing around with the research and the formulation of it and all this crap, when the easiest thing you can do is get an existing bottle, just slap on a label, start taking some pictures. And I always tell people, think marketing first, product second, right? A lot of people forget about marketing. And the second thing I would say is build a community. So once you've built and validated that product, start building up a community of people that are going to be buying that product, or at least that interested. Collect emails of people. That's so important. A lot of people do not do that. And them 2 things there is the key to a successful launch. If you break it down, there's obviously a lot of little tricks here and there that we do, but that is the biggest thing to a lot of people that are creating products.
Yeah, great value there, man. Thank you. And so money should be only spent on validating first. That's the best. If you're going to spend any kind of money, spend it on validation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. I love it, man. All right. So before I ask you the rocket fuel question, what's the best way for people to engage with you or reach you?
You can reach out to me via my website, samitpatel.net, or you can go to the agency website, jupio.com. I will provide you for the show notes, and check out C-Roc show notes, and there'll be links to that. Also on Instagram, I'm always posting amazing content that's going to help you blow up your business, launch it, grow it, whatever you need. I'm always posting fire tips on there. So yeah, definitely check that out.
And where else? Where do we meet?
Huh?
Where do we meet?
Oh, Clubhouse.
And get on Clubhouse, because he's in hosting plenty of rooms, and there's a lot of information being dropped for free on there. You can actually talk and ask questions on there. It's just a phenomenal way to provide value. And then if you want to go deeper, then they let you know how to go deeper with them, which he just gave you the website. So Samit, first of all, thank you for being here. The last question, I talk about the rocket fuel law now, like John Maxwell's leadership laws. If you implement the things I talk about with proactively preparing yourself to handle setbacks, you become unstoppable, because you take everything that would slow normal people down, stop normal people, you're storing it in your tank instead of your trunk where it weighs you down, and you convert it into rocket fuel to not get back to your original place, but blast way through it. What does that rocket fuel law mean to you, or has it meant to you in your business and life?
Yeah, I think it means, for me, it's just going to keep making you stronger. Mentally, it's going to make you stronger. Mindset wise, it's going to make you stronger for sure, because then you'll be able to deal with these scenarios in the future, just like all the things I've mentioned, going through bullying, going through a father that's got OCD, going through business partners trying to kick you out. Like, when it happens again, you're building a mental fortitude against that. And every single time something like that happens, you're overcoming it, and you're becoming better. And I think for us to survive, or for us to become even better at our craft, we need to go through that. We need to go through challenging times, and when we come out of it the other end, we'll become unstoppable. It's no surprise that most billionaires are really old, right? Or the average millionaire is really old as well. It's because they go through a lot of stuff in their lives that impact where they are right now. Like, I am a better entrepreneur right now because of the things I've gone through, and this is my rocket fuel.
Yeah, baby. Love it, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I look forward to developing a relationship with you further, Samit. And I wish you all the best. And if there's anything I can ever help you do, I would look forward to making connections for you, and anything I can do, man, because I want to give. And I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you, my man.
Thank you for coming on, guys. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to the What Are You Made Of show with your boy, Mike C-Roc. Go get that rocket fuel book at MikeCroc.com/book. Mike C-Roc with no K.com/book. Until next time, be unstoppable.